Oh, welcome back to the Act 2 podcast, a podcast for the real-life working screenwriter. I'm Tasha Q.
And I'm Josh Hallman.
And we are Act 2, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter, of which this podcast is just one of the things we do. Thank you for joining us here. Be sure to check out our Patreon. We have a movie Q&A coming up this month, very soon, where we all go see a movie, not together, separately in whatever town we're in. And then we get on a Zoom and we talk about it for an hour. We have talks about how did the script feel? What changes would you make? If you were given this assignment, if you were handed this shooting script and said, you need to rewrite this so that it's green light ready, what would you do to change it? Or just what lessons you learned from this amazing script? All of those things. We talk about the movie as writers. It's very fun. I love it. Also, if you don't, like socializing with other movie lovers, you can just subscribe to the podcast, which is a passive thing, and that way you don't miss out on our upcoming topics. You could also rate us, write a comment. Those are always nice. It's like, sometimes it just feels like you just need a pat on the back to know that you should keep going. Yeah. Because when we podcast, it's like it goes out into the ether. We don't know if anyone's listening. We're hoping.
Well,
and
we do have the analytics, but
technically we can. But who has that kind of time? You just hope.
I mean, I'll look at them from time to time.
As I said, it's a complete mystery. So that's a way you can kind of let us know how you're feeling about things. Or you can DM us with the questions, topic suggestions. Reach out to us at ActTwoWriters@gmail.com, all spelled out, or on our Instagram and Twitter. I'm Story Thursday on Instagram and Tasha 3.0 on Twitter.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter. Josh Hallman on Instagram. What a day, Tasha. That was me doing the drum roll. I don't know if you heard it.
I could hear it and I feel it. And I have a lot of thoughts about today's topic. And I don't even think you're ready for the amount of thoughts that I have.
I know I'm not ready. Sometimes before we start recording, we'll kind of talk about things, share some notes, some ideas, this and that. When you go silent, it usually means I'm like, oh, there's like too much. I get worried. I get very worried. Do you have any this week in writing?
Yeah, I guess.
I want to pitch a scenario to you. I'm going to tie it into writing, but I want to tell you something and see how you would react.
Okay.
I don't know what this is called. Let's just call it This Week in Writing.
This Week in Writing.
So Tasha, here's a scenario.
Okay.
I'm sitting in my back. I'm getting some work done. I get a text message from my neighbor that says, Josh, someone just dumped garbage in front of your house. And I was like, excuse me? They're like, it's sitting on your curb right by your car. And I was like, someone jumped, where? They're like, it just happened. So like, we saw it, we looked outside. I was like, okay. So I run outside real quickly and I see a big pile of garbage, as if someone took their garbage and just dumped it just right on my lawn. Like right there.
What?
Yeah. So I'm like, what the hell? I call, I tell my family, I'm like, what's ever, stay inside. I don't know what's going on. There's a car parked across the street with their window down. I'm becoming like suspect. I'm like, what the hell's going on out here? So I put some gloves on. I get a trash bag and I look and I start seeing there's ripped mail inside the garbage. And so I'm like, is there an address on here? So now, Tasha, at this point, if you're in my scenario, do you put the garbage all back in the bag and just call it a day? Or do you start piecing it together like a mystery, trying to find the person responsible for dumping it in front of your place?
Can I get more information from the neighbor?
It was a text message.
But if they saw this, what exactly did they see? Did they see a person drive up, step out, empty their shit on your lawn and drive away? Was it just a homeless dude who decided he wanted to empty his backpack of trash on your lawn? Like, what was it?
They just saw the garbage. Their daughter, actually, who was walking by, because she also lives down the street, was like, someone dumped garbage. I don't know. Like, they didn't see the actual person who did it.
Oh, yeah, they didn't see the act. They just saw trash on your lawn.
But it happened within like this small window of time because someone came over. There was like no way this could have happened without somebody seeing it. Here's where I'm all going with this. You and I wrote a script. It's a murder mystery.
Yeah.
Our protagonist solved crimes.
Yeah, she did.
There was about a 10-minute window where I felt as though I was a private investigator, and I swear to God, it was from us writing this protagonist.
You're like, I wrote it, therefore I can do it.
I put the pieces of mail together. I took photos of them. I stitched it together. There was handwritten notes, like someone had ripped, there's something that was going on. There was a lot going on in this
What
garbage.
do you mean something was going on? Like this person was like fighting with someone via notes?
I think there was a fight. I found wedding invitations.
Yeah.
So I found the person who was sending the mail. Like they had bulk. There's one person, by the way, I'm on the west side of LA. This one person was in Culver City, like the bulk of the mail. However, it was being sent to the Santa Monica address. So I have two different addresses of where like mail was coming and going from.
So one singular person was sending a bunch of mail to someone near you. Was the Santa Monica address near you?
Yeah.
Like on your street? Like someone who was just like in your neighborhood?
It's within walking distance. It's within distance for my wife to tell me, Josh, do not follow through with whatever you think you're doing.
But now I need the mystery to be solved. Like, were the wedding invitations part of the mystery? Like, is the person in Santa Monica so upset by whatever fight/wedding invitation thing going on that they just happen to like dump trash, like not realizing I'm doing it specifically to Josh Hallman and his family,
Correct.
But just like I'm here having a rage attack and therefore I'm emptying it out.
Yeah, I think there might have been a fight. I think there was a breakup. There was some other like gross stuff in it. Like there was like a plunger. Someone dumped up. There was Drano. There was wet towels. So anyway, this is all to say.
It's so odd.
I'm just telling you this because you know how we talk about when your main character is smarter than you
Yeah.
in a script? That's how I kind of felt, and I was trying to piece this all together. But I think I have these addresses, and I don't know how far down the rabbit hole I'm going to go. I'll keep you updated. But I think I might take a little stroll past the Santa Monica location.
Remember the last time I was at your house? Do you remember that?
With the kid?
With the kid, and
Yeah.
there were cops, and some people were cray-cray. It's just,
No, by all accounts, everyone's like, dude, just let it go.
But I'm curious I just want to know why. It's almost like, you don't have to be mad at them. You're just like, I need to understand the thinking
That's
behind. It. Because if it was, by the way, on your lawn, doesn't that require crossing a sidewalk to get to that? Or was it like on the street edge?
It was scattered. It was tossed for sure because it was scattered from it was as if you threw garbage forward and it like pushed forward from the curb over the sidewalk into the lawn.
Did they throw a bag? Was there also a trash bag involved?
It was one of those carrying bags from a mall, basically.
Was this person trying to get away with some kind of crime?
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering.
I think this is a worthy pursuit. I think Nicole is wrong, your wife. If you want, I also wrote this character, so I can come on board.
So I would like to bring you into this.
I am also a detective now.
Yeah. I was thinking, because, we wrote a character who could just her mind works quick. She walks in, she's like, oh, this. I swear to God, I was like, okay, wait a minute. This and this and this and this. And I was
how would Edith handle this?
Exactly. I was piecing things together. So I'll keep you posted.
All right, definitely.
Sorry, that was a long story.
Oh, shit.
Oh, this happened yesterday. Remember when I texted you? I said,
yeah, you're like, I got to talk to you about something on the
what
podcast. Oh, my God. Well, my district writing's not that interesting in comparison. I should have gone first. And I just talked to you about this, so I apologize you're hearing it twice, Josh. But I got notes recently on a pitch document that I'm sending because I am going to try something new, and I'm not going to verbally pitch on something. I'm going to send a document. And originally it was going to be a one-pager, and now it's 14 pages because I needed to break the movie for myself to know what the fuck this movie was. And I got notes back from my manager, and notes suck, man.
Yeah.
And at some point you gotta stand up for yourself. And you gotta move on if you feel like you need to move on and have that that like strength of purpose, I guess. And I would say her really big notes were probably right. I think her solution wasn't right. And her solution made me think maybe her note isn't what she thinks it is. And her note was basically Act 2A sucks. Act 2A is boring. She said that if I sent this document, it would make me seem like a bad writer. So don't send it. But then when she proposed a solution, and to her credit, she spent a lot of time on this. I mean, she sent me an email at like midnight last night after rereading it and sending me this long email of notes. And I realized in reading her email that I don't think her problem is that like the plot is wrong in Act 2A, which I think is what she's telling me, is like your plot is wrong. It needs to be driven more like sort of driven by character and driven by what this unique person and her personality would be doing in these steps. And she referenced John Wick and she referenced Nobody because maybe she knows that's my weakness. And like, of course I want to be as good as those movies. But when she proposed a solution, I realized maybe her problem isn't my plot. It's just like my action scenes aren't interesting. I think she's just bored. And I don't think it's a plot problem. I think it's like a set piece problem, which are kind of hard to get across in a short document where you're trying to get through plots so that you can explain the movie. So I don't know. That's my This Week in Writing. It's more to say like we all get crazy notes, and I think at this point I have to use my brain and not rely on someone else's. I think is the point of this little story.
Those documents are so hard.
They're like
so hard.
Short but very descriptive documents.
Yeah, they make no sense whatsoever. I mean, like, they make sense, but when someone's like, can you get me a one-page document on this entire concept? You're like, well, no. Like, yes, but no. But it's good that you go in and you start big. You say, I'm going to make this 14 pages and whittle it down to one page, if possible. Yeah. Because I've tried to write things where I'm like, I just want this to be a few pages. And then you end up missing a whole bunch of stuff because you don't write it out all the way. That's the way to go. But yeah, I'm sure it's great.
It'll be fine. It'll all work out the way it's supposed to.
It always does.
No stress, Josh. No stress. It's our new motto.
This is it. By the way, no stress.
No stress. Okay, today we are talking about live action remakes of the animated movies Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. We're going to talk about what seemed to work best, what didn't work, and our opinions, very much. And generally, what makes an adaptation like this from animated to live action successful or not successful. Obviously not at the box office, or maybe not obviously, but just as writers.
Yeah.
Which can often, reflect in the box office. Okay, let's talk about the animated movies first, if you don't mind, Joshua, and then we'll move into the live action. What did you love about Lilo and Stitch, the animated movie? Whether it was scenes or just like general elements of the story, what did you love?
So I've been waiting to tell you this. Lilo and Stitch doesn't mean to me as much as it means to other people.
Oh, that's so interesting.
Yeah, I asked Paul this. That's why I asked. There was something about this movie that I liked it. I saw it. I was like, oh, that's adorable. Like, I really like this movie. But we have a friend, Cousin Pete. I'm just going to throw him out on this.
Yeah, we do.
I remember meeting him and him talking about how perfect Lilo and Stitch is. The animated movie. Like, that was his favorite movie. He was like, this is a perfectly structured movie. This is it. Like, I remember this was like 10 to 15 years ago, meeting him and talking to him about it. So the animated movie, which I think is going to tie into some of my thoughts later with the live action, to me, it was just I was like, okay, yeah, that's a fun movie. Does
your daughter love the animated movie?
What's interesting is she likes it, but not like she likes Frozen or liked Frozen, for instance.
Oh, so
or
interesting.
Moana or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I just remember it being a very cute animated film. Mm-hmm. Like, my all-time favorite animated film was The Lion King. To me, that I feel like the way I feel about The Lion King is the way people feel about Lilo and Stitch.
I think so. I can't speak for everyone because I've literally never talked about Lilo and Stitch with other people because I've loved it but didn't really realize there was this, like, I guess, I don't know, conflict between
Right.
non-lovers and lovers. But I love it for many reasons. But one is it stands out to me in the Disney pantheon because it's so weird. Like, it allows itself to be bonkers and specific to like a sister relationship and Hawaiian culture. And Lilo is so fucking weird. And you talk about Frozen or like Lion King. Those are, yeah, they're dramas. And there's a couple jokes in there. But it's like a pretty standard Disney fare. And then you get Lilo, which is like this weird outlier where Lilo is so strange. Stitch, and like it opens in the middle of space, which, like, what? Disney movies weren't doing this then. They're not doing that now. It's all just, it's like this weird outlier. So I guess now I understand if people don't like it because it's like, or don't care about it because it is sort of like off the beaten path. But I think that's why I really responded to it. Like this weird little girl with this dark sense of humor who's a little too mature for her age, and she's really emotional. I was like, that's me. Like, I'm Lilo.
That's interesting you say that. I think that might have been some of my issues, which I didn't know and which I would have probably appreciated more being younger. But it was like, to me, I was like, this is a fun movie, but oh man, this doesn't make me feel the way that Aladdin and I guess what's interesting is I should probably maybe talk about animated films in the traditional sense. And then there's Frozen, Moana. Those are like a different kind of animation. I feel like the hand-drawn stuff or that kind of animation. I forgot. What was that called? Like just traditional animation?
Yeah, traditional
No, okay.
2D animation.
2D animation. Jesus. Okay. My point is, that's a very good point, what you're saying, that it was a little weird. I'm not saying that's why I didn't like it, because I liked it. It just didn't hit me the way it sounds like it maybe hit other people.
Yeah. And you often don't get animated movies with little kids either as the star. Usually they're adults or I'm trying to think, teenagers. I mean, maybe technically like Cinderella and Snow White. Ariel is a teenager for sure, but they feel older. This is a 6-year-old girl. Like, that is very unusual in the Disney world as well.
So what stood out to you was the kind of the oddball nature of it, is that it felt unconventional.
Yeah.
The sister relationship.
Oh, yeah.
And then so that hit, and then I'm assuming the alien relationship.
Stitch is fucking adorable, of course.
Yeah.
Yes, he's so freaking cute. I, for some reason, bought a Stitch popcorn bucket the last time I was at Disney. And it makes no sense. Popcorn buckets make no sense. This one in particular makes no sense because you have to reach into his mouth, which doesn't open. It's like stuck at half mast. And you can't really fit, unless you're a child, you can't fit. So like, maybe this wasn't for me, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. But it's because he's so cute.
Stitch is a little cute.
A little cute, Josh.
Cute
he's
little
fucking
alien.
cute.
He's a cute little alien. I have no thoughts on this as we switch into the live action, the cuteness, but we'll stay where we are.
I also want to say that something I love about the animated movie is how specific it felt to a sister relationship. I do not have a sister, so I can't speak to the reality of it, but it felt very specific and sincere and genuine in how that relationship would actually play out. And again, that's what makes it so good and to me an outlier compared to like Frozen, which is a very G-rated version of what a sister relationship is like. I think it's very heartfelt and I am moved by it. But this was like the dirty side of what a sister relationship is like. And, nailing the door shut and leave me alone to die while I listen to Elvis. And the sister just like doing things to a 6-year-old that you really shouldn't do. Like, you really should not be yelling at her and like kicking her out and doing all these things. But it felt so real that, again, outlier, because Disney doesn't usually create these like so specifically real relationships. So I love that as well. I also want to say, you're not a fan, so maybe you don't know this, but Nani, the sister, there's memes everywhere and like this campaign everywhere from fans that she is like the most underappreciated Disney hero of all time. And that she works so hard. She's so tired. She's the hardest worker of all Disney heroes, and she gets the least amount of love. And I think that's accurate.
Wow. Nani appreciation?
Nani appreciation. Because I'm going to continue to go on to what I also love. I love the scene with Scrump, her little doll that she makes, where she actually accidentally made it lopsided. She has to make up a story about how a bug laid eggs in its ear. That's like Tasha as a child. That's like a picture of exactly who I was.
Interesting. I could see that. But these little details, this all makes sense. This makes sense.
Right? These are just like weird fucking details I love as well, and this will dovetail into things that were different in the live action, but the Ugly Duckling storyline of Stitch, where Stitch builds an impromptu San Francisco in Lilo's room and then like bulldozes his way through it, and Lilo sort of calms him down by putting a lei over his head, and then she reads him the story of the Ugly Duckling, which becomes very important to Stitch as he realizes he doesn't have a family and he needs to find out where he belongs. And it becomes a really like thematic grounder in the Stitch story. And they just kind of, we'll get to it, but they took it out entirely in the live action.
Did you care?
No, I didn't care.
Yeah.
One last thing that I loved is when Stitch surfs. It's the first time in the animated movie that he feels like he can really fit in, or that he really fits in. Especially, you know, the Ugly Duckling theme is the one that doesn't fit in. But he finally fits in. It's such a beautiful moment, especially because you learn earlier in the movie that water can kill him.
Mm-hmm.
It's no bueno for Stitch. But he's out there surfing and risking that. And it's amazing and it's beautiful. And it leads to this scene where he pulls Lilo down and Nani kicks him and he nearly dies. And it's very emotional. But I love that little encapsulation of a moment. And then I would say the thing I liked least about it, and I'm curious about what you liked the least about it.
The animated.
Yeah. Is the aliens. As like not a fan of Jumba and Pleakley from the original. They're too silly.
I actually don't like the aliens either. I'm not just saying that.
Yeah, not a fan.
But this ties into your thing that you said earlier about it kind of being unconventional, where it was like, yeah, it starts in space. There's these aliens. It's this, I guess, alien story with a girl, but the Stitch doesn't really look like an alien. It's kind of like a little dog. And like, so it's like a weird thing. It's hard to explain. Like I'm kind of saving this for the live action portion of it. But,
well, something about in the animated movie, it felt like you could pluck out the alien story entirely and like 90% of the movie would still remain. Mm-hmm. So it felt really extraneous to me. And I always fast forward through the opening of the animated one and just get to when he lands in Hawaii, because I don't want any of that nonsense. And I think there's a way to just say like Stitch was an experiment. He has no family and he's designed to destroy things. And like, that's all I need to know. I don't need this other stuff. But obviously it's there to create conflict and to create some kind of forward momentum that's more than Nani needs a job and Stitch is getting in the way of Nani getting a job, right?
Yeah.
So I get it.
I agree.
All right. Shall we get into the live action adaptation?
Let's go, because I loved
Lilo
it.
and Stitch. I loved it. So successful or unsuccessful? Successful.
Very successful.
And it's also successful at the box office. And I love when these two things go together. Mm-hmm. I hate leaving a movie and being like, why aren't people seeing this? This thing has made over $800 million worldwide. It beat Mission Impossible right from when it opened. Yeah. Josh.
Yeah.
You've seen, I'm gonna predict that you've seen every Disney live action adaptation so far.
That would be correct.
Even Lion King? I mean, that's live action, quote
Even
unquote.
Lion King. I saw it on
like,
opening weekend and I cried.
Okay. Well,
I saw Mufasa. Yes, I've seen every live action remake of every single Disney movie.
Okay. I have not. I've seen most. What are your thoughts on the earlier adaptations before Lilo and Stitch?
Okay. It's a really weird thing. There's movies like Aladdin, which I appreciate. Dumbo.
Oh, God, I forgot about that one.
I have
God, I forgot about that one, too.
Yeah, they're not great, but in some weird way, I appreciate them. But I feel like some of like Aladdin, which made a ton of money, by the way, and even Dumbo, Beauty and the Beast, these movies, it's like almost passive like Disney movies, which is really weird. Like they're just kind of companion pieces to the animated film. I feel like with some of these, and I was looking through because I had actually forgotten a few of them. Like, have you seen The Little Mermaid?
I did see that, yeah.
Lady and the Tramp. Did you know there's a live action Lady and the
I
Tramp?
did not see that. I meant to. I didn't.
The Jungle Book.
I did see that. It's fantastic.
It is fantastic. Anyway, so I'm just kind of going off. So I actually think Disney's done a really good job with a lot of their live action films for, what they're made for. And I think I'm one of the few people that actually really liked Mufasa. I thought it was a lot of fun.
I didn't see it.
So your question was what? How's it can stack up to some of the earlier stuff?
Yeah, like you clearly like the other ones. Where does this fit in?
I think this is like right up there with like one of the best live action films that I've seen from Disney.
Yeah.
I know there's a little controversy behind it, which didn't impact me at all. And I think what I really liked about this was there were some creative decisions that made it feel like it's the same but a little different.
Yeah.
And going back to that thing about Stitch looking like a little dog, like in the live action, I swear to God, there was moments where I was like, oh man, that's CGI. Like I forgot Stitch was like not real. It's the weirdest. I can't even explain it. I was like, oh man, that's right. Like I just believed he was like a little blue dog for portions of the film. It was so weird.
I love that.
But yeah, no, I love this. I thought it probably did the best job out of like all the animated films.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm right there with you. I had forgotten about a few of these. So I guess what I'm about to say, I can't really speak to because I don't know. I've not seen Dumbo. I don't remember Aladdin. Do you feel like, since you've seen them all, that this is maybe like only the second live action adaptation where they actually changed a lot of the movie? And I'm saying the first one is Mulan.
Yeah, I was trying to remember every single one of them, but I know they changed a lot in The Little Mermaid. Did they?
Yeah, I mean, only to like make things connect, not to like tell a different story.
You know what's interesting is I feel like Snow White could have learned from Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
Snow White could have changed a few things.
Yeah.
I
bet.
To make it feel more modernized and like just kind of like the same but different.
It's interesting because in the trailers I've only seen the trailers for Snow White. She like comes back to the queen with soldiers and she like challenges her, right? That's not part of the original. So I guess that was their attempt to do that.
That's true.
Do you think this is one that's changed the most? Again, I would group it with Mulan.
I feel like it is. But I feel like it did it in such a subtle way that it still connects to the original.
Yeah.
And honors the original.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel that's like the main thing I want to talk about. But so in this story, if you've seen Lilo and Stitch, the OG, there's going to be a lot of spoilers that we're going to be talking about with Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. Apologies. But in the Lilo and Stitch live action, the Mr. Bubbles storyline, for example, is very different. They grounded him a lot more in reality, while at the same time, maybe I would argue, making Mr. Bubbles himself a bit more silly than he was in the original. Also because they grounded the reality of the sisters a lot more, and sisters without parents a lot more. It had this cascading effect across the whole movie, where I think the problem of the movie was much more in your face of Nani struggling with being a mom, but also a kid herself, and of the impossible decision of having Lilo taken away from her. All of that felt like it was weighing heavier in this movie across every scene than it had been in the OG. They changed the two aliens, the Jumba and Pleakley characters, probably so they didn't have to CGI aliens for the entire movie, and also I'm sure for a tone thing.
I actually thought that was very clever.
Oh, I thought it was genius. Yeah, which we'll get into that idea. And then a lot of small changes along the way, like how the hula class goes at the beginning is very different, how the montage of Nani trying to get work was different, ways they run into Jumba and Pleakley are all different. But I think the biggest change of all was the ending, which Josh made me aware was the controversial part. You can Google it and read more about it, but basically, if I could sum it up very poorly, at the end of the movie, Nani gets the ending that fans have always wanted for her, because as I told you, fans think she's the hardest working person in Disney, and they want what's best for her. And so they give it to her in this movie. She gets to lead her best life by going to university, but also finds this cheat code where she gets to keep LILO as well by having her stay with the neighbors next door who have always been like family anyway. And because it's Disney, she also gets this alien portal gun that allows her to visit LILO whenever she wants. So it's this win-win, like happy bow-tied situation. And as a California girl, I loved it. I was all on the naughty gets what she deserves train. But
wait, California? What does California have to do with that?
Because Native Hawaiians felt that it was this kind of cultural whitewashing of Hawaiian values of family, and instead upheld this kind of like stupid and heartless system of the American social services. And
all right, my bad.
I get that. I didn't grow up there. I don't have that culture. And that just like didn't even clock for me as something until you sent me those articles. So that's the controversial part. Watch and feel how you feel, I guess. Josh.
Yeah.
Why do you think this live action remake was successful?
I think from a kid level, it's got aliens. It's got little cute Stitch. It's got the young girl running around living the dream. This is like the fun and games of what you would do with an actual alien. Now, leveling up a little bit more to a little more sophisticated palette, like you and I. Then there's the emotional level between the sisters and the missing parents, and the parents have passed away, and the struggling older sister trying to protect her younger sister. And then we have the younger sister who's just looking to fit in, but no one's accepting her. And then you get accepted by the one thing that also is being banished from their planet. So was the question why it was successful?
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I'm coming off of a steroid. I think there was just so many perfect connecting parts within the emotional stakes and within like the wish fulfillment and the fun aspect of it. And it just melded together in such a perfect way. And those aliens, the Galifianakis and
Billy Magnuson.
Billy Magnuson. Those guys I thought were perfect. And they just brought this fun to it that wasn't too over the top, even though it could have been over the top, but it was very enjoyable from that experience. So I just think it was hitting all of those right emotional moments, so much so like I was tearing up throughout the movie. I mean, this, which is just insane to say. So I think it worked because it really hit the emotional aspect while also managing the fun.
Yep, that's also my reason as well. I thought the theme of how an imperfect family can still be a loving family was just like so well threaded. It was present in every scene. You could tell like that's what this scene was about. It was about something, and it's so hard to do and so important, and clearly creates this sort of emotional depth that makes you care about everything, which is so important even more in an adaptation of an animated thing into live action, because you can get away with more in an animated movie than you can in live action. You need to you need to really come with the themes and the realism and the heart a lot more in a live action thing than in an animated thing.
Yeah.
It's just the way our brains perceive it.
I thought what they also did really well was the nanny character. Her stumbling over, like where LILO and Stitch were messing things up, she was trying so hard to make things right, and she just couldn't get there. And you really bought into that. This was a character that was actually trying to get on the right path and make things right with her sister while she's trying to also live her own life. I felt like it just hit that in such a perfect way.
Yeah, the casting was incredible. The directing of the cast was incredible. Like you said, Zach Galifianakis, Billy Magnuson played Jumba and Pleakley, who are amazing. Those characters could so easily be over the top and ridiculous. And I really cared about Pleakley, the Billy Magnuson character. I wanted the best for him. Their back and forth was so fun and funny, so additive. Whereas in the OG, it was distracting, right? I feel like I could take it out. They had Hannah Waddingham as the head alien woman. She was amazing. Sydney Ogadong and Maya Kealoha are Nani and LILO respectively. They fucking killed it. Like, it's so hard to find kid actors oh man, they managed to be funny without silly. They were heartfelt, they were emotional. So I think a big part of the success of this movie is honestly the cast being able to pull off this balance of fun, funny, emotional, beautiful, heavy. I also think shooting on location really helped. I think the world felt lived in, and we're so used to these places feeling like a set in Disney movies, which makes you feel like, why? Why would I want to go into the world of Beauty and the Beast on a set and not like at a castle, right? But again, I think the biggest thing was the theme really grounding everything from the performances all the way to the story. So it became something I could really invest in. Which brings me to, in my opinion, the biggest issue with an adaptation versus live action. So listen. Sure have the thoughts. Okay.
Oh, Jesus.
I've adapted Naruto, which is this giant iconic anime, into live action. I have turned a video game into a 2D animated show. I have turned a Critical Role live show of actors into a 2D animated show. And I'm also writing a movie right now that is a live action adaptation of an animated character. So I have thoughts about this process. And I think the biggest issue that we don't think about is that our brains process animation differently than we do live action. And something that I'd always say about Naruto, if you've ever seen it, Josh, it is 100% something that works as an animated show, and specifically as an anime, where the emotions expressed are huge. It's always huge. It's always really over to the top. The main character, Naruto, is childish. He's petulant. He's weird. The jutsu magic that they do, all the little hand movements that create this ninja magic, it offers very little explanation of how it works. You kind of just buy that it works, and that it works in like really bizarre ways. Like, not only will it allow you, this is just examples, not only will it allow you to like turn the page of a book, but also like explode that plane over there, which like those are two very different magics. Like, it sort of bears explanation, but in an animated thing, you're just like, yep, cool, hand wave that works. Because quite simply, in animation, you're able to suspend your disbelief a lot more because it's very clearly not real. The way that, like, you can show blood in animation, and it doesn't feel like real blood. But as soon as you have live action people, it's now gory, and it's now a problem. Now imagine you hire a real life person to play Naruto. Imagine Naruto's voice, which is basically always yelling. He's always freaking out about something. He's having some kind of tantrum. And imagine for a second that a real person has to say those lines in a movie without the movie feeling insane. It doesn't work. As soon as you put a real person in a real setting, our brain simply expects a certain amount of reality, which means that when we adapt something from a cartoon to live action, our guiding principle has to be less a faithful adaptation of this cartoon, shot for shot, exact voices, exact scenes, and more about honoring the spirit of that animated version. And you said it perfectly in the beginning that Lilo and Stitch really embodies the spirit of the original while making changes. Every single change they made felt organic and real to the people. Felt like real things, and it never lost the tone and the playfulness and the personality of the original. And that is my tirade about animated versus live action and why Lilo and Stitch did such a good job at staying the course and feeling true.
That was fantastic. But how hard is it? And this is not you to answer. This is just, I know it's very hard to stay true while doing something different. Like that is, that's the magic sauce. Like if you can do that, then you can do it. Because I feel like the easy thing to do is, let's do a shot-for-shot remake of this, and we'll just change. Maybe we'll change a few scenes. Like I don't think just changing a few scenes here and there works. It's almost like a complete shifting of the story while still staying on the spine of the story, which is it's not easy. By the way, I'm not saying I can do it. I'm just saying like that is the way to approach it, I think.
Yeah, 100%. And just to like take a small example, like the Mr. Bubbles storyline, the MIB agent masquerading as a social worker in the original. I feel like they probably, as I was watching the movie, this is how it felt. They probably tried a version of that was true to the movie, and then were like, this doesn't feel believable. This suddenly takes me out. Like everything else around it is emotional and real. And then there's this guy. There's Mr. Bubbles pretending to be a social worker. We gotta change this somehow. What if it was a real social worker? What if we really grounded the problem of the movie in something that felt like a genuine threat? And then we just like throw Mr. Bubbles in over here. And I think that's a really smart way to approach adaptation, is to think about what are you trying to achieve in the live action that's different? How is it going to feel different? Oh, fuck, this is suddenly feeling really silly. I need to change this element. How do I keep the essence of this element? Because Mr. Bubbles is still in there. You still get the beat of Lilo reading his knuckles and reading him like a book, as she says in the live action. And you still get like the essence of who Mr. Bubbles is. But now you've plussed it by 100. So it's like taking like it's like every step of the way you have to have these thoughts and questions about your own adaptation in order to get at it. So it's hard. It sucks.
You know, no, and it's what's interesting about the movie Lilo and Stitch. I'm going to take The Lion King. Like, to me, like I said, The Lion King is a perfect movie. And of course, it's little lions and it's mostly CGI. So that live action remake was mostly true, like almost shot for shot true. Like there's a few tweaks. I bet it's 85% shot for shot. But I wonder if the imperfections that we talked about Lilo and Stitch are what allowed it to actually be a great live action movie, in our opinions. That maybe someone else said, this movie is really fantastic. Here's why, but this is where we can evolve it to more of a live action. Well, I'm thinking about this. You just can't do this with all movies, especially Disney movies.
Yeah. And wasn't the criticism of the movie that it was a shot for shot remake? People were like, why?
I think so.
Why do that with CGI characters that aren't even as cute as the 2D animated ones?
I think so. Like Snow White, Aladdin, Beauty and the Beast. Those kind of, in a weird way, have to kind of be the exact same movie. Like, you can't really change too much in those, right?
I think you can.
Can you? But then where I'm going with this is now you're kind of bleeding into the IP universe or the corporate universe and hurting rides, merchandise. Now we're into a whole other beast.
Well, it is that's part of why it's so hard, is because you have to honor those things and celebrate those things in your remake and not say, I am changing these things because fuck the original. You're saying, I'm changing these things because of the medium that we're in. And I love those things about Beauty and the Beast, and I absolutely want to keep them. But by nature of the medium we're now in, it has to change this way. But guess what? I'm still preserving how that made you feel in that moment, or how, I don't know, Disney this was. That's what makes this adaptation process so difficult, is you do have to understand in your bones what the spirit of the thing is and write to it, instead of being someone who comes at the original with, I don't know, judgment, I guess. Like, you can't look down your nose at the thing that you are adapting, because it will reveal it. That opinion will reveal itself in the final product. And I think we've all seen adaptations where we're like, you didn't even fucking read the book, did you? Or you don't even fucking care about this video game, do you? You just wanted to make money and like do your own thing. And you can almost like feel how angry the director or writer was at the original and how much they judged it in the adaptation. And the most successful versions of adaptation, I'm not even talking about appeasing the fans, I'm talking about just like the best story, is one that captures the spirit and that you approach with love. And you just find the thing you love about it. And this brings me to How to Train Your Dragon.
I have an idea.
What is it?
It's a two-parter. I think we have a lot to get into with this other one, How to Train Your Dragon.
That is a very good point.
This is like a little cliffhanger episode.
Yeah, we'll talk about How to Train Your Dragon on the next episode, because I also have a lot of thoughts about this. It is one of my favorite movies of all time. So I think that makes a lot of sense. Because I'm already heated. I feel like I need to cool down in order to then talk about what comes next.
And then on the next episode, I'm going to bring up a few things that you said about adaptation in Naruto. I liked it. This is great. We're just cracking the adaptation code in real time.
I have a lot of thoughts.
I mean, you've already cracked it.
No,
so.
It's every adaptation is its own beast, and it's very, very hard. But I think if you follow this spirit of the original as your guide, it will guide you well.
Yeah.
Quote of the day. The purpose of a writer is to keep civilization from destroying itself. Albert Camus. Please remember to rate and subscribe. Follow us at ActTwoWriters for more awesome writing stuff. You can follow me, Tasha, at Story Thursday on Instagram or on Twitter at Tasha 3.0.
I'm Joshua Hallman on Twitter, Josh Hallman on Instagram.
And as always, the Act Two podcast is a production of Act Two, a network and support group for the everyday working screenwriter. This episode was edited by Paul Lundquist.